Hello, this is Teresa Garrell. I'm here today interviewing Eva Blockinger in the Dale McConkey room of the Marshall Public Library in Illinois. Today is Wednesday, June 27th, 2012. Eva and I have known each other from church since my family moved to Marshall over 6 years ago. The first set of questions for you, Eva, have to do with your childhood. First, when and where were you born?
I was born in Deutsch-Benchik, Hungary, which is now part of Romania, on March 26, 1919.
When did you come to America?
I believe it was December 1920 that we hit New York. And it happened that we were lucky that we were able to get off the boat because shortly after, very shortly after, I came down with measles. And of course, we would have been quarantined if they found it on the boat. We wouldn't have been able to get off. And I understand I was very, very sick. They didn't expect me to live. But they didn't expect me to live when I was born either because I was premature.
Who were your parents and siblings?
My father was John and my mother was Eva Schmidt. And I don't remember my two sisters. One died before I was born and another died after I was born because of the big flu that was during 1917-18 in Europe. And then there was a boy born after me. I don't remember his name, but he only lived one day. And then we came into this country in 1920. So I never knew, of course, my sisters and brothers. Then I had a sister that was born here in Montana, well, about a year later.
What communities have you lived in?
Just a regular city, well, how shall I put this? Communities in Chicago, a neighborhood that was all over a big city, in different ethnic neighborhoods. I didn't live in an ethnic neighborhood. It was just a mixture of everything. Lived there for many years, all within about a mile when we did move. And that's about all I can say about that as far as neighborhoods are concerned.
And then when did you move to Marshall?
We moved here, of course I was married by then. We moved here in Marshall March 26, 1983. And I've lived here ever since. My husband died here in 1988. And he's buried here in Marshall.
Can you talk about the meal times when you were a kid? How were your family's meals like?
Well, being German, my mother cooked, I imagine, 99% German way because she couldn't speak German yet in the beginning English in the beginning, of course, and so she wouldn't be able to compare meals or some recipes with any neighbors because they wouldn't be able to speak English or German, I should say, and she wouldn't understand English anyway, not in the beginning. It took her a long time to learn English. My father had to pick that up as soon as we practically came here because of working.
As a child, did you have any favorite toys?
We had a doll, and I remember having a teddy bear for a long time. But as I was growing older, I was more interested in playing baseball with the boys in the neighborhood than playing with dolls. My father would say, "Get over here and play with the girls." And I didn't want to. They were no fun. It was more fun to play baseball.
Where did you go to school?
I went to Catholic school my whole 12 years, Loretto Academy in Chicago, and our church school, of course, in our neighborhood.
Did you like school? Did you enjoy
I liked it. I enjoyed school, and it was very, very rare that I ever missed it. I had to be really sick before I would miss a day because I enjoyed school. And the nun, I remember her having me get up in front of the class to read, and I still enjoy reading very, very much.
Would you say that reading was your favorite school subject?
Well, we had, of course, so many other subjects. Geography, I love geography, I remember that. History was all right. but geography I think was one of my favorite. I had little problems with arithmetic. I remember in 5th grade. My father could only help me for so long because they didn't go to school like we do here, like 8th grade or anything like that. They had to work in the fields or whatever.
Anything they said often that sticks in your mind?
Yes, Eva, don't do that.
Is that your father or
My
your mother
father,
both?
my father, more my father than my mother. And I was afraid of him. He was a German bullhead. And Germans are stubborn. They'll tell you that. With me, anyway.
What were some pastimes you enjoyed as a young adult? You know, your teenage years into your
Well,
older...
it was during the Depression, so there was nothing much you could be doing. Even when I was in high school, I couldn't go to dances because we didn't have the money to go. And it was just, then I learned how to German dance. So that I was more interested in that. But there wasn't any in our neighborhood, being a cosmopolitan neighborhood. And so we didn't get to German dances too often. Of course, we went with my mother and father. We lived on the south side of Chicago, and the German dances were on the north side, so we rarely ever got to them.
What kind of dances did you do for German dances?
Polkas and waltzes. German dancing is still my favorite. American dancing was something that I did as I got to be, like 19, 20 years old, but it was not my favorite.
Did you date in your younger years?
No. I went to an all-girls school, so there were no girls around me that had brothers. And then I played baseball with them. I wasn't dating them.
When and where were you married?
Well, I waited until my husband, he wanted to get married before he went into service, and I wouldn't do it. I said no. And though I did write him quite often, almost every day, and when he came back from service, he wanted to get married right away, and I was still, no, I want to wait. I don't know how long I thought I was going to wait, for the next 50 years, or what, really. And he said that if I can't make up my mind, he was going to leave Chicago because he didn't come from there. He came from Marshall, Illinois. And so I thought I better hurry up and make up my mind if I wanted to get married or not. I was comfortable at home, so why bother?
Can you talk about the jobs you've had?
Well, it's very difficult because during the Depression, you would have many jobs because trying to find office work mainly is what I was looking for. I worked for a dime store for maybe about a year at one time, and that paid, I think, I've forgotten how much an hour, 70 cents an hour or something, but very, very little. Then that business was getting poor during the Depression, so I was let go. Various office jobs that I don't remember them anymore.
Can you talk about your children?
Well, I have 2 girls and 1 boy. Marla is my oldest. Paula is 2 years later. And then Glenn Jr. is the boy born 5 years after Paula.
Do you want to tell me a little bit about some of the funny experiences you had with one of your kids? Are there any good stories?
Oh, I remember being at the beach with the girls. That was before I had the boy. And I saw Marla splashing around at Lake Michigan. And Paula was right next to me. And all of a sudden I looked down. Her head was in the water because we were standing in my ankle deep. And I looked at her and I thought she could drown. And she was just standing there. She had bent over. I don't know if she tried to put her face in the water or what. I grabbed the back of her neck and pulled her out. But I thought we better get out of the water. Lake Michigan was always so cold.
How about a scary moment you had as a parent, which I guess that one kind of was, but are there any others?
Yes, when Marla was about 2 years old, and we lived on a third-floor apartment, and I was getting Paula as a baby. She was a few months old, getting her ready to go down in the buggy to go for a walk, and I went downstairs. I let her go downstairs, and I told her to wait for me, and she was gone. And I thought, oh no. And we lived on a corner apartment building with two busy streets. And I went to the different stores. They had not seen my daughter. And I thought, please, St. Anthony, find my daughter. And so I didn't know where to go or where to look. And here my husband happened to drive up in the car with, he had her. She went 2-3 blocks crossing streets looking for her daddy. We always took the same route walking every day. And he saw her, and he wondered why she was alone. Well, then he asked her, where's Mama? And she answered, home, because she was only a couple of years old. And, of course, St. Anthony found her for me. He's still my favorite saint.
What was the best trip or vacation you've ever taken?
Oh, boy. Well, I've been up in Alaska on a cruise. My husband and I went to Europe for a German play, The Crucifixion of Christ, and in Oberammergau, Germany, which is wonderful. I've been on a cruise down in the Mexico, and let's see. And my husband and I went on one of our anniversaries to Hawaii many, of course, years ago. So I've been in 4 corners of the earth, so to speak.
What was the best thing about being a parent when your kids were growing up?
We're always busy. Very, very busy. We wanted to sit down and sleep for a while.
What was the worst thing? Wait.
And they wouldn't listen. Of course, I did the same thing when I wouldn't listen.
Today, what's your favorite hobby or activity?
Doing some volunteer work, reading. I used to like to walk a lot, but I've been curtailed a little bit recently. And so I kind of miss that because I was always a walker. I find that I probably will have to cut back on my volunteer work a little bit.
What kind of volunteer work do you do?
Well, I help out at the Burnside Nursing Home with Help Out at Bingo, and once a month their church service, where I wheel in the residents at the nursing home into the chapel, and I may have to cut that out because the wheelchairs are getting a little heavy.
What kind of books do you like to read?
I prefer mystery books, but I'll read almost anything I get my hands on. And I like the Amish books, too, that I've read recently. Those were very, very interesting.
Do you enjoy the pace of life you're at right now, or is it difficult?
Well, the pace of my life now is slower, and I find that difficult because I was never a slow type of person, either walking fast or going to the Y for exercises. I haven't started in again. Maybe I will in the fall. I'll see how I feel.
What do you enjoy about maybe going slower? Is there anything you enjoy about that?
No, I don't like it. Not at all, because I'm not used to it. Seems like I was always asked, why are you always running? I said, no, I slow walk sometimes. Not very often, but I have to learn how to.
Do you have grandchildren?
Yes. Let's see, 5 grandchildren and 4 great-grandchildren.
Do you see them very often?
Very, very seldom, maybe at Christmas time.
Where do they live?
They live up north, up, around Batavia Well, I'll say near Chicago.
Now, Eva, something I know you're very fond of is your large collection of hats. Do you want to talk about them for a minute?
Well, I don't get rid of any hats. That's the problem. But I enjoy wearing them. Some are many years old, and I don't care. I still wear them on Sunday, and depending on what, of course, I'm wearing. And I try to match up or be different. And so I know that I'm usually the only one at Mass when I go on Sunday, and I don't care. And but I just happen to enjoy wearing hats. But there's a story about that. Many, many years ago when I was single, and this is during the Depression, I only had one hat that I wore all year round. And somebody asked me, "Is that the only hat that you wear?" And I think it started then, where I wanted different colors.
What activities has your age restricted you from that you miss the most?
Well, right now, walking is one of the ones that I'm really missing, because I find that I can't do my mile that I even did 6 months ago. And whether I'll be able to get back to it or not, I don't know.
Anything else from when you were younger that you miss?
Of course, I've always gone to the Y for many years for both exercises and the pool exercises. And since the pool has been closed in Paris, of course, I haven't been able to do that in the last 3 or 4 years. And chances are, when they open it, I probably won't go back to it.
Do you feel like you have more free time now than you did when you had a job and had to take care of kids?
Oh, yes, I have more free time. I can sit and fall asleep in my chair.
Do you enjoy that free time?
Yes, but I get restless because I can't do the things that I did before. But again, as I said, at 93, you're kind of restricted.
Yeah. What age has been the best age of your life, and why?
I've always enjoyed as each age came along, because every few years it was different. Kids were growing up, and maybe I had a little more free time, or I got into more volunteer work, or did more type of exercises, or it just, things were different as each few years went by. When you're 93, you live a long time, and I've enjoyed my life as it came along and all, so that's all I can say about it. I'm lucky that I've lived this long, I guess, to enjoy it.
Thank you, Eva, for your interview today.
Thank you very much.